This is Fox Gypsy Art and Design. Today we're going to be assembling a paper mask. This Fox template is one of 4 that I'm going to be talking about in this video. First, you're going to want to gather all the supplies that you need for this project. I have here pencils for drawing, glue stick for assembling, glitter glue for adding to decorations of my masks. You might want some other objects. Masking tape for holding things down, and a hole punch. Don't forget about scissors as well. You'll notice on my hole punch I actually have an adjustable piece on it that allows me to decide how deep the hole punch will go. If you don't have that part, that's okay. You'll still find it useful. If you like the templates in this video, you can find them on my Etsy site at etsy.com/shop/foxgypsy, FOXGYPSY. I am also using colored paper in this project. You could use any kind of colored paper you want to, even construction paper. I'm using pastel paper because that's just what I happen to have around. This is a great project for when you're trying to just use what you have around and you want something quick and easy. I'm also using cardstock, which will give me a little more stability to this project. You could also use an old file folder, a cereal box, any number of lightweight cardboard, things like that. So now here you see that I'm using my light box. I'm using the tape to hold down things. If you don't have a light box, you can always put it to a window and tape it there. As long as you have a good strong light source to do the drawing. Now I folded my piece of paper in half and then I lined it up with the middle of the template. I'm only having to draw half of that mask template because then when I fold the paper I can cut out both sides at once for a symmetrical design. If you want any other additional designs on it, say on this one I'm doing a little kind of like an eyeliner around it, or if you maybe want spots or stripes or any other little designs that you're going to add with paper, then draw those as well on your template and then trace them as well. Now if you need 2 of those, all you have to do is fold the paper once again and trace both of them. Although if you're just tracing it to another piece of paper, you only have to cut one of the template and then use that template to trace onto the paper and cut it out of your paper. You'll see in the template, I have some areas where you will cut in a little bit further. So look to where those cutting lines are. That's so that when I fold the edge over, like say for example on this ear, it's going to give it a 3-dimensional effect. There's also a spot along the fold line that's a little hard to see on my templates where you'll want to put a little snip so that when you are assembling it, it will curve around your face better. Now I was mentioning in this video there are 4 templates. There's the fox mask, which I'm using Ziploc bags to hold all my pieces. A tiger, or Tigger actually, but he kind of looks like either a tiger or a lion or a bear. There's an ear template if you just want a set of ears that you could clip into your hair. And then I'm going to be assembling in this video the cat mask. All of my masks assemble pretty much the same way, so I'm going to use this one as my example. I've already cut out all of the pieces, so I traced them onto the pieces that I wanted in the colors that I wanted, and I've cut out all the little pieces that I want for my decorations on it as well. I cut 2 pieces that are actually the size of the template, the full mask template itself, so that I have one that will go on the front of it and one that will go on the back of it as well. I'm going to start out by laying out all of these pieces. Originally I designed these so that they would be for a group of Girl Scouts that wanted some masks and they needed something easy to put together. So I hope you find this useful. The designs that are on it are the ones that were requested by the kids originally. You may have to draw your own if you want other designs on it, say for example inside the ears. Be creative. This is your mask. Make it your own. So you can see here I have also my pieces There's a spot where it cuts up the nose to allow space for your nose to fit in there because our faces are not flat. You'll notice that it goes to the middle between the eyes. So if you were to create your own template instead of getting the ones online from me, then I suggest that you kind of work on figuring out where your eyes are at and then cutting a slit up to where your nose can sit before you kind of get started with the shape of your mask. Also, I've kind of figured out where I want my little template to fit on inside the ears, and I created that template separate so that I could cut out the pieces. Think about where the thing is going to fold over to create the fold of the ear and make it more three-dimensional. You don't want to put a whole lot of details right there where the fold's going to be, but you'll see that towards the outer edge I made kind of a little zigzag to kind of give that kind of fuzzy, furry effect for a cat's ear. The other two designs have a full nose. This one just has what I call a nose bridge, and that's to bridge over the space where the nose is going to go so you don't have just a slit over the top of your nose. You could also trim it away further, but this adds further stability to the mask, and I think it just looks nice too. Also, if you plan to do makeup on your face and wanted to give yourself a cat nose and whiskers, that allows you to have a little more space to work with on your face. I also prefer half masks, just a little more comfort-wise, and I tend to cut my eyes larger so that I have a lot of space to be able to see. I like being able to see, but the shape of the eyes can also be very important to your mask and showing a certain type of expression. In this one, I've kind of cut them to kind of look like cat eyes. When you think of makeup cat eyes, you know, the kind of little point upwards at the edge. Here I'm holding it in position so you can see when it does get assembled how the little overlap pieces will create a three-dimensional effect for you. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my glue stick and cover my first piece here and stick it on there. You'll notice I did not cut out the eyes on it yet. This will be a little easier process to do once I've actually put it on there. As I said before, there are 4 different templates in this video. The noses on the other 2 masks are a little bit different, like the fox you saw in the very beginning and the one for Tigger. They'll give you different types of nose to play with and how they're assembled. So here you can see I'm going to just glue stick it, lots and lots of glue stick. And you're going to want to let it dry in between too, because if you try to play with the paper before it's too dry, then things will try and peel apart or pull off. If you have, say, alligator clip or a clothespin or paper clip, you might try using that to hold down different parts when we start doing the overlaps. Also, if you have lots of different designs and things that you wish to add on there that are flat, doing it while it's still flat is really the best time to do it. If you have any parts that are going to go over any of the parts that overlap, like say at the very top of the forehead or on the ears, then those details you'll want to wait to add till the very last moment once you've got it all assembled. Otherwise, the overlap might kind of mess you up when you go to overlap it and you end up overlapping over the object that you just put on there. Also, this is just paper, so if you overlap something and you don't like the way that it looks, you could always trim away. Or you can add another piece and then trim away from that. There's really no right or wrong to how you do your mask. Try to line up all your edges so that you don't end up with the white showing. This is why I'm going to be using another piece on the back side too to cover up all the little bits of white. Especially when we curl around the ear, you're going to want to make sure that you have at least enough coverage on the back to cover the back of the ears, because the ears will stick up beyond your head and whoever sees you from behind is going to see the other color behind the ear. That, and if you used a cereal box, well, you'll have cereal box for ears. So here I'm going to add these details on here too before I cut out my eyes, because they're overlapping the eyes too, and that way I'll get a nice cut on both of them and won't have to cut them individually after having already cut one. If you're using scissors, which by the way I've sped up the video so that we don't take quite as long, be very careful about how you use them. I actually don't push down while I am doing that little twisting motion that you saw. I kind of let the weight of the scissors themselves kind of do the drilling through. And then once I have a hole in the center, I kind of snip into it and work my way around it. You can always cut out little pieces at a time. Here I've got the back piece that I'm kind of lining up. I'm going to actually trace the eyes and then cut it out separately and then stick it on there. And I'm going to show you an alternate way to cut the eyes on there instead of using the scissors. So if you're not very good with a pair of scissors, and trust me, I have cut myself doing the holes on the eyes before, or if you are working with somebody else who's younger and you don't want them to cut themselves with the scissors, try using this alternate method. Take the hole punch and going in from near the nose where you'll have a little more reach to get there, put a hole into the space where the eye is instead, and then put your scissors into that hole instead and snip carefully to get the edges. Once again, I'm going to use the mask flat to add all those little details on there, as long as they aren't in the spots that are overlapping. I actually just cut some little random triangular pieces to add on here, and originally I was going to trim them off so they were flush with the mask, but I actually kind of liked how they looked when they were sticking off of here. So don't be afraid to experiment and see what you like. And I also ended up hole punching the mask for string, and I liked the hole punch, so I ended up putting the hole punches onto my mask as well. Then we're ready for the assembly part here. When you get to the nose, you're going to want to play with the edges and fold it. You might even push it against your nose as you are trying to glue it in place. That way you'll know for sure that it's going to fit on your nose. It fits better one direction than the other, so the arch is actually upwards and covers over the little slit that goes up there. If you flip it over the other way, that's okay too. You'll just have a little slit that shows. You could always put sequins or other details like the glitter glue over the top of the hole and cover it up. Before you glue all your different parts down, you're going to want to kind of work with the paper because it's pretty stiff now that I've got 3 layers going on here and 4 in some of the areas where I have details. And you'll need something to hold those parts down because they'll want to kind of pop up. So like I said before, maybe a clothespin. Otherwise, if you have the patience, sit there and hold it in place until it is dried, or at least dried enough that you can leave it and sit for a while and come back to it. Remember, your face is not flat, so you're going to want to work all of the edges as you are gluing the different overlap parts. Here I've kind of left the overlap at the top for last. I'm kind of bending the sides and the edges. As you're bending the edges and sides, you may also want to hold by the ear so that the ear doesn't pop up accidentally. You can already see there's a little spot where the detail of the gray right by the eye was kind of popping up a little bit. So you might have to add a little extra glue here and there. So that way now it's a little more rounded to fit around. I'm going to adjust my hole punch. And you want to put the hole somewhere close to the middle of the space between the eye and the edge of the mask. It should be in line with the eyes. That works about best. Just a little bit above is okay too, because our ears are in line with our eyes, and so that way the string will go up and over your ears just a little bit and hold it in place really nice. So I tested out my glitter glue on a couple pieces of paper that were the same color as my mask before I started on there, and I also used it to kind of get rid of the little gunkies. If you don't have glitter glue, but you maybe have glitter around and glue, you could always mix your own. Or you could do it the old-fashioned way of putting the Elmer's glue into place and get yourself a paper plate and sprinkle the glitter on there and then let it fall onto the paper plate, and you can even use the paper plate to kind of scoop it back up again and stick it back on there again. Even if all you do is just outline edges, you'll have a really interesting effect. I also used it kind of to cover up some of those edges too. You could also use a low temperature glitter or colored hot glue. Hot glue guns are pretty cheap, and so are the glues that come in it, and they also have colored ones that will do too. You can also create interesting textures and effects with that. It's just a lot easier with regular glue if you're worried about burning yourself or if you're not very skilled with using such tools. You could also add puff paints, jewels, ribbons, feathers, any number of different things. So here's the ear template. The very top set is actually made out of craft foam, and you used hot glue gun and some cheap clips onto it. The other two are felted, needle felted, and they're using basically the same template, only I've modified it so that they're wider. This last set has wig clips, and I also added a lobster clasp onto it and a chain with beads to kind of give some decoration so they hang kind of like earrings off of my fox ears. If you would like to see another template or have me create a different template or another tutorial that shows ears specifically, let me know you liked this tutorial and would like to see more and a little more detail on this. So this is just the paper here, and the bottom of it, you'll see there's kind of a fringe. It isn't really as important to follow the lines that I have on there, other than to cut a bunch of little fringe lines. It follows a straight line on there, but for my felted ears, I actually have more of an angle there. So if you wanted to modify it to be more of an angled ear, so that your ears stand more straight up on your curved head, then think about curving that line first. That little rounded half moon piece is for the bottom. You'll also cut 2 of those for each ear. That way, when you assemble them, you could put one piece on top and one piece on bottom, covering up all the little messy bits, especially from hot glue. They could be different colors, or they could be the color of the inside of the ear if you did an inside piece and created a different design for the inside of the ear. If you want to create your own, what I did is I basically kind of followed the line of my ear. I made it a little thicker towards the inside edge of the ear, and the outer edge I did sort of that zigzag again like I did on one of my other masks. It kind of curves upward, little pointy zigzag, and then the bottom of that follows the fold line where the fringing happens there. So I would just cut this piece out and then cut the colored pieces out, using that to trace as my template. Here is the tiger mask, which you could modify easily to be a tiger, and it kind of almost looks like a lion or a bear as well. So it gives you a different kind of nose shape. It assembles similarly to the fox mask. I also fringed the edges of the front of the nose. So if you want to make a nose of your own, it's basically just a rectangular piece where I fringe the end, and then on this one I'm going to just tape the inside together so you can see how it assembles, and then trim away the extra pieces that you don't like to get the shape that you want. Once you have the shape that you want, you can untape it and use that to actually cut the pieces if you're just going to do a paper mask and you want it to look as clean as possible. I did my best to try to make it so that the pieces would overlap and still look pretty nice. You could always cut other little round pieces to stick on the front of it, make it look kind of cartoony because, well, Tigger is a cartoon. So, and just so you can see what it would kind of look like if you wanted to use, say, markers on your mask, I just kind of did a little quick sketch of the nose so you could see where the nose would be. And like on lions and bears and tigers, they tend to be kind of a wide looking nose, and the nose itself kind of flares out at the bottom. And their ears a little more rounded, and in this particular case, when they fold over, you kind of get that little drooping drape back effect with the ears. Now when I'm doing paper mache, I just tape my masks. That way, all of that's going to get covered up anyway. Nobody's going to see that tape. And you can see in this one here, I just used my hole punch, and I cut out both eyes at the same time on this template. If you would like to see how to use these templates to do a paper mache mask, which will last you a lot longer than a paper mask, then please watch my other videos. I have a dragon mask that has lasted me 20 years, although it's lost some teeth in the process. If you'd like to see me do one of my other masks or design a different type of mask, or say maybe a different animal or creature, then tell me what you'd like to see. I love to create and I love to share. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you will check out more of what I have to show you. Once again, if you want to find my work, you can find it on Etsy under Fox Gypsy, Foxgypsy.